What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to BitcoinEasy.io. Of course, I've been gone for the last 3 weeks, and yeah, guys, it's good to be back. I got a lot of ground to cover today. We got new segments here on the daily videos, and talking about daily videos, now I'm actually back here in Marbella, so these videos will follow now on a daily basis. I'll be breaking down Bitcoin and all the altcoins as per usual, but we'll also be adding a lot of data to the equation, so you get an even better idea of where the market is at and what we can expect for the Bitcoin price and the entire crypto market. So guys, nice to see that the subscriber numbers have not changed a lot, that you guys stuck around here and waited for me. I had a lot of stuff to do, a lot of non-crypto related stuff to take care of. Now it's all out of the way and I can fully focus on crypto and also my YouTube channel again. And yeah, guys, also had a nice vacation on the way. We traveled through Europe. I was planning to share a lot of the content over on Instagram, but we then decided to just keep it completely private and stick to ourselves and make the most out of the trip, aside from all the work that was going on parallel. So yeah, guys, it was really good. I feel completely recharged and refreshed and ready to go. And yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to cover in today's video is the statistics for Bitcoin in September. I will show you what kind of data you can expect on the channel from now on. That I will be covering here on a daily, weekly and monthly basis to give you a really good idea of previous events, previous statistics, historic data, and so on. For me personally, I rely heavily on data as well, not just fully on technical analysis. So I want to share a little bit with you guys how I go on about these things as well. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. Right, guys, so you can see it, the September Bitcoin returns. And as you can see, we had 15 occasions since 2010. And in these 15 occasions, we had 11 negative Septembers, 4 positive Septembers as far as returns go. The average return since 2010 is minus 5.8%. The average return since 2016. Of course, this is a very significant date since that basically represents the new era of Bitcoin since the altcoin market was established and so on. Since then, we have negative returns of 2.78%. And then since 2023, really the first September since this current bull market started, we have 5.6% positive returns in September. And here you can see it. We can, of course, by statistic now expect that we get another negative month. The previous month of August closed right at 108,600 bucks. And it's also, if you look at the halving years, right? We have 2012 here, and we have 2016, 2020, and 2024, of course. Every 4 years here. The years following always were negative years here for Bitcoin. So we can see that there has been no exception for that rule yet. But of course, it's a very young asset still, and therefore we have to wait and see what happens by the end of this month. But fully relying on data, we can expect a negative month for September. There's a lot of other data that I will be covering. I'll get into some of it tomorrow because we have a big week coming up. So here in these reports, I will also always include the major events taking place in the coming week and in the coming month. And here, for example, yesterday we had the US jobs report, so we can quickly look at that. We've been expecting 190,000 new jobs created for August. We had a miss, and usually when we have a miss, it seems a bit ironic, but then usually the market starts pumping. And that is, of course, because if there are fewer jobs created, then it, of course, puts pressure on the Fed, and then the Fed is more likely to cut rates. Therefore, usually the Bitcoin price then ends up pumping, and almost without any exception, it's always the case. And then the other way around, of course, if more jobs have been created than expected, then usually the Bitcoin price slows down as there's less pressure on the Fed to cut rates. And here it displays very nicely in this chart. We can see here, for example, yesterday we missed, so we expected the Bitcoin price to pump. The Bitcoin price did pump in the first hour, 1.8%, and within 4 hours we were up 2.5%. And if we look at the previous events where we had misses, for example, when the data came out for July back in August, we had another miss here. The Bitcoin price started pumping 1.5% in 1 hour, then in the 4 hours 2.1%, within 24 hours it was 2.8%, and then within 3 days, so 72 hours, 3.5%. And you can go through this here, you can take a screenshot, or I will actually release these reports over BitcoinEasy.io in the future. So of course, make sure to be subscribed there as well, because that is completely free and you can get a lot of cool stuff there in the future. I'm working on the website right now to add a lot of features there. So once again, guys, go over there, sign up. It's completely free. All you need to do is drop your name and your email, and then you will have lifetime access to all these features. Right, guys, so you can go through this data here, and here we also have the historical averages for the price change for Bitcoin here. And then we see when we beat the expectations, the price has been dropping more and more over time, the larger the time frame, right? When we missed the expectations, that was the exact opposite. The price started pumping more and more, the larger the time frame became. And in line, the price stayed basically the same. Started on average pumping a little bit. So very, very good statistics to keep your eyes on always when you want to open a trade based on this fundamental data, right, coming from these events. And there's a lot more that I will be going through tomorrow, of course, at the weekly close, before we then go into next week, where we have the PPI and the CPI, and then also the European Central Bank meeting, which is basically the equivalent for the FOMC in Europe, where the interest rates get decided. So key events to keep our eyes on, and tomorrow we'll go through all the data there. And then here we have more data to cover in the coming days as well. We have the FOMC that is on September 17th. We will go through the data, how it usually played out as well when these meetings took place about the interest rate decisions. As we know, we have priced in now with an 80-70% probability that the rates will be cut by 25 basis points. So that is the current consensus for the market. And we will see how that usually plays out once the numbers come in. And then here, some crypto market warnings that I will get into in the coming days as well, with the on-chain and flow data here as far as the ETFs goes, and the futures open interest and how that can impact the market and the price. And then also end of the month, we have the US government shutdown deadline. Right guys, this taken out of the way. Now a quick look here back at the September Bitcoin returns, and there we can see that the average day for the high of the month was right around the 13th, and then the average day for the low of the month was the 21st. So sometime between the next couple of weeks, we can expect some strong volatility based on this data. And then of course that aligns perfectly as well with the massive events that are coming up in the next 2 weeks. And the big main event, of course, on the 17th, when we get the announcement from the Fed about the interest rates, where we all expecting a rate cut. Okay guys, let me know in the comments down below what you think about this new segment here. I will continue to break this down throughout the month always, and then of course I will also be adding other events if something has shown up spontaneously. As you know, the political tension across the world always brings up new meetings and new potential catalysts for the Bitcoin price and crypto markets. So whenever something shows up, I will go through all the data, how the price behaved historically when these events took place, and so on. So guys, keep your eyes out for it. And then in the future, as I said, I will share all this data also over on bitcoineasy.io. So yeah guys, make sure you signed up there, because eventually I will start adding some features and some content there that will come at a cost. But for the people that are signed up before all this launches, then you will have lifetime access to everything on the site up until this point. Right guys, now enough data, let's go into the charts. Kicking things off here on the Bitcoin chart, we'll focus on Bitcoin alone today. Tomorrow I will go into some other charts, and we'll also start covering the CME chart as well. That's very, very interesting at the moment. But right now I want to cover the key resistance that we already spoke about here a lot on the channel. Of course, talking about the major resistance, the biggest one that we can see in the linear chart, which is of course the 8-year resistance, where we're connecting all the tops here since 2017, since the $20,000 top here. And then we can see of course also the 2021 tops, and now we have 2 touch points here again, 2 months in a row at that 8-year resistance line. And the orange one of course connecting the wick tops, and then the white one here connecting the bodies. So this is of course the major resistance here from a diagonal perspective, and anything on the smaller time frames is basically irrelevant. If we start crossing that line, then we can expect a massive price move, as this is a very strong confirmed resistance line here, and it has not been broken in the previous cycle. So if we get above there, then we can expect Bitcoin to go completely parabolic. But there's of course a few things that are not playing in the favor of this happening in this cycle either. Bitcoin dominance is dropping, which of course does not mean that Bitcoin is going down and won't continue to print new all-time highs in this cycle. It just means that a lot more money is flowing into altcoins and stable coins at the moment as well. So from that perspective, we have to be a bit more conservative with our Bitcoin targets yet. And that is of course a chart that I've been talking about a lot here on the channel, Bitcoin dominance, especially here on the monthly chart, that if it starts breaking down here this solid white line, right, where we then don't continue in this trend anymore, then it's very likely here that Bitcoin dominance is on its way down here to the 40 to 35% range, and will not reach its previous peaks always in the 70 to 74% area, right? We can see in all the previous cycles we reached that line up there, and I told you guys that as long as we hold the trend line here and continue printing higher highs and higher lows, then it's very likely that we continue up towards that level before then Bitcoin dominance starts breaking down and we really start seeing an out season. So really interesting spot right now. We can see here from a dynamic trendline perspective that we're potentially currently forming a new one, and we're still actually in the monthly chart at least holding the previous low here. So the structure printing higher highs and higher lows here is still in order, and as long as we stay here on a closing basis right above 57%, then we still have a chance here to come up. And then of course the first step here is very necessary that we get back above 60.3% roughly, and then take out the prior high here right at 65.3%. Then of course it's strong indication that we are going up to that 70% area. But for now, that trend line has been broken. Very clear to see also on the weekly chart. You can see it here, this channel that we've been trading in, where we're connecting here the major lows since the beginning of the bull market here back in winter 2022. And there we see that we fell below the very solid and very strong support of the 50-week SMA here, which was in perfect alignment here with the dynamic trend line and also this key horizontal level here. So really key level here once again in the 60.3 to or here on the 60.4% area on the weekly chart. If we can reclaim that and get above this cluster here, then of course it would look very strong again. But right now the more likely scenario is here that this continues downwards now after breaking this trend, at least here to the 54 and 55% range, right? And in historic cycles, I've shown you this data as well before. I don't know where I have it right now in the charts, but I'll bring it up in the future. But for the last few cycles here for Bitcoin dominance, the top for Bitcoin was always in when Bitcoin dominance dropped to the area between 60 and 55%. So basically here in this range. So we got to keep our eyes out here, especially if we come down to this level, and also see where the total market cap chart's at, which I will be covering in the coming days as well. I will get into everything, guys. Of course, I can't squeeze everything into one video today because this will get 2 hours long to catch up with all the stuff that I haven't spoken about in the last 3 weeks, but I'll make sure to get into all the charts that you can see here on the right, including the total market cap charts. We look at Dixie as well, the S&P, and all our favorite altcoins here, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Sui, and Hyperliquid. And of course, I will also update you on a different segment. There's been some tokens from the Gem Hunter series that have really taken off. And that portfolio actually looks really good for the current market situation. And those tokens that we have leveraged the AI for to find them are looking very solid, and nothing has gone down to critical levels yet. Everything is holding up very strongly, and there's one specific token which has been up at its highest, I think right around 600%. Had a couple of days where it's been pumping 150% in a single day. And yeah, guys, I will update you on that as well, potentially on the short form content here on YouTube, on the shorts, and then also over on TikTok and Instagram. So make sure to follow all these platforms that you can see up there to keep up to date with all my content. Right, guys, so this here for Bitcoin dominance. Now let's go back to Bitcoin and see here what's more relevant for the short term. Of course, we looked at here the monthly chart. Tomorrow I will get into the weekly chart when we have the weekly close. Okay, guys, now down into the daily chart here, see exactly what the critical levels are here, the pivot points, and this is actually something that I still talked about before I left, the $112,000 level, right? You see this line here, the green line, this is the exact same level still. So basically, of course, since I left, we printed a new all-time high, which I think I spoke about as well when I came to Sweden. And then, of course, we came back down here. It was very critical to hold this key line here right at 117,000. We saw when we broke that here, then we got an underside test of it and continued downwards here towards this area right here, which of course is also a key weekly support level, which we'll cover tomorrow as well. And here we can see now that we're still struggling here to reclaim that $112,500 level. We see that we had a few attempts here, last one yesterday, and this is coming in strong confluence here with these two moving averages, with the 21 EMA and the 50 EMA here, giving us very strong resistance. And then also if we look at it from a Fibonacci retracement perspective, where we retrace this uptrend here that of course has been broken now, then we can see that we have here now the 23.6 also in alignment there. So very strong area here. And on a closing basis, what we want to see here as bulls is to get back above $112,600 here and then continue upwards. And then we can see Bitcoin continue upwards here again to challenge at least the $122,000 area and likely to print new all-time highs. But of course, very strong. First $112,500, then here in the $117,000 range, and then above there, really nothing in our way to challenge the prior highs. and then likely that we continue upwards there and print another touch point here at that 8-year resistance line. And of course, if that breaks and we continue upwards in that trend that we will cover tomorrow on the weekly chart, to our targets that we spoke a lot about here on the channel as well, in the $130,000 to $135,000 range, then of course it becomes very, very interesting when we get to the monthly close of September or October potentially, to see if we can break this 8-year resistance line here. Okay guys, that's to the upside, and then to the downside, if this trend here continues, of course, then we can see here critical level right at $108,300 more or less. If this breaks, then we see here a strong cluster. We have this key horizontal level here. You can see many touch points leading all the way back to the end of 2024. Here, very strong support as well. And there we have the 200 EMA, the 38.2 on that Fibonacci retracement, all lining up in this area. So very solid support in the area between $105,000 and $104,000. If this then breaks down, then of course we can expect the price here to come down to the key area of $100,000 to $98,000. That will be a very interesting level that we will look at tomorrow, and also on Monday when we look at the CME chart, because there's some really strong support in that area, and it's an absolutely critical area for the entire bull market at the moment. All right guys, try to squeeze in as much as possible here in my comeback video. Of course, 3 weeks absence give me a lot of ground to cover now, and I will make sure to cover a lot of it here, at least for Bitcoin and the entire altcoin market in the next 2 or 3 days. So you get a really clear idea of where I see that the market is at right now. Specifically also when we look at the weekly chart tomorrow, there's some really critical stuff. And then when we get into the CME chart after closing the weekend, of course, and when CME starts trading again, we look at that on Monday. And then once I cover everything and get also into the total market cap charts and into ETH BTC and Dixie, the S&P 500, then I will also start getting into my routine of covering all the altcoins individually again. So guys, nice to have you here, nice to be back, and hope you enjoyed the content. And if you did, especially if you're new to the channel, activate all those buttons down there. Subscribe here for daily updates. I'm back on a daily basis, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on when any of my videos drop. And yeah guys, for all of you guys, smash up that like button. It really helps me out more than you think here with the algorithm. And if you want to add something, if you want me to cover something specific, or you just want to chat, drop something down in the comments and I'll get back to you. Right guys, I'm out of here now, and as always, happy trading and see you soon.